Hello, everyone. Welcome to Concordia University. Tonight, you are joining myself. My name is Evan Jones. I'm the Director of Admissions here at Concordia, as well as some of our key faculty and staff for one of our episodes for the Concordia Compass, which is a brand new series that we are doing this year, webinar series. And it's essentially us allowing and helping you navigate your college journey to and with Concordia University Irvine. And tonight we are going to talk about academic advising here at Concordia, what we do a little bit differently, how we're unique, and how it's set up to be beneficial to you as a student and to your future. We have quite a few of you guys joining us tonight, so thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us this evening. A lot of you guys are seniors and wrapping up finals and senior year, so again, we are so appreciative that you've taken time to be with us tonight. While we're still just kind of allowing people to come in and get situated here in the audience, I am going to allow our panelists a moment to get situated as well, and I'm going to pass it over to them and have them introduce themselves. So, Carrie, we'll go ahead and start with you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Carrie Tom, and I'm here tonight because I'm the director of our general education program, which is called Enduring Questions. They're endearing to me. Enduring Questions and Ideas, and it's a program that we get our freshmen involved in right away as part of their Concordia experience. So good evening.
Hi everyone, I'm Brianna Garza-Farron and I am the Assistant Director of Student Success here at Concordia. And so one of my biggest roles here is an academic advisor working with undergraduate students.
Thanks so much, Carrie and Bree. So before we get started, I want to let everyone in the audience know that we are going to save the majority of our webinar tonight for a Q&A portion. So anything that is said in the presentation here soon, if you have questions, please keep note of it. Or if you have questions about anything that we perhaps did not mention, at around 5:20, 5:25 Pacific time, we'll open it up and we'll take all of your questions. So please be taking notes because we want to give you guys the opportunity to use this time to get all the information you can. So I'll pass it over on to my wonderful colleagues here.
Thanks, Evan. All right, is it possible? I'm just going to share my screen. And is everyone able to see that? Perfect, thank you. All right, so we're just going to talk about a few things that we're going to be going over today. So starting with what that first semester looks like when it comes to the classes that are being planned, that class registration survey, any placement exams, the evaluation and planning for your students' grad plan, what that grad plan looks like, and then you're now enrolled, what do you get, what happens, and then any adding, dropping classes, or any frequently asked questions that us advisors tend to get during the summer. All right, so in your first semester, advisors are typically looking to enroll you in around 14 to 16 units. Now this could differ and be a little bit more depending on the major that is declared. However, we're aiming to be somewhere between 14 and 16 units in order to keep you on a traditional four-year track. Some of those classes that we'll enroll you in include your core pair, which is around 6 to 7 units, depending on the core pair that you're going into. And so Dr. Carrie Tom is going to go over that in just a minute here. And then we'll also enroll you in INT 100, which is a 1-unit course in the Freshman Foundations course that's required for all students in order to graduate. This is cohort-based, so whatever group you're placed in for orientation will continue on through this class in INT 100, which is fantastic because you're able to bond with that group of students and kind of go through that first semester together. Some other courses could include the Q&I courses, 3 to 6 units, and we're specifically looking at what is eloquent. So there's a communications class that you'll be placed in and or a writing class that you'll be placed in. There could be some other general education courses as well. And then some other things that we're looking at with program requirements, whether you're an honor student, if you're involved in theater or Christ College or music, and then of course, any major or minor classes that would be important for their very first semester. I'll hand it over to Dr. Tom to talk a little bit more about core.
Thank you, Bree. Yes, so every freshman, when they come in, they're going to have a year of what we call our core pairings within the larger GE, which is, again, the Enduring Questions and Ideas, or we just call it Q&I for short. So their first semester, they either take a pairing of core theology and biology, and that would be 7 units because biology does have a lab unit, or they take the core pairing of philosophy and mathematics. And then whatever pairing they don't get their first semester, they will take their second semester. These classes are paired both thematically, they're around a question. So math and philosophy are what are truth, goodness, and beauty. Biology and theology focus more particularly on what is truth. So the classes are linked in that way. You have the same students going from class to class. So all the students in one section of core math are then going on to the section of core philosophy. So that's another way, in addition to the INT 100, where you're getting to know students, you're reading the same material, having that same experience together. And we think that's really important for students to become part of an academic community as they come here. These courses not only introduce you to the disciplines, these 4 disciplines, but also prepare you for the deeper thinking that is required for college, right? This is not high school anymore. We expect more from our students at an intellectual level, and these courses really prepare students for all of their majors, no matter what the discipline, in terms of thinking about things in a deeper way. And then also, as Bree mentioned, we like students to take the What is Eloquence courses. Those are part of our exploration courses. One is in public speaking or speech and debate, and then one is in writing. And obviously, public speaking and writing are essential skills that students will need for the rest of their college careers and for their lives. And so we really like to have those, when possible, to be early in that first year. Go ahead, Bree. I think that's what we need to say now. Obviously, I'll answer questions. I'll be staying and answer questions about that later on.
Scary. All right, so there is a class registration survey that does need to be completed before an advisor will enroll your student. And so some things that we're really looking at. First, we're starting with that major. You may have applied to Concordia and declared one major, but maybe you've changed your mind since then. So this class registration survey will note whichever major you decide is the major that your advisor will then enroll you in and plan for. So make sure that you do think about that and make sure you note that correct major. Now, minor is also an option to add, so it's not a requirement. You're not required to have a minor. However, we do have some amazing minors, and if that's something that you're already considering, you can go ahead and note that, and your advisor can begin planning that out to build out in that grad plan. If you're involved with anything on campus, whether that may be athletics, forensics, a music ensemble, our theater program, our Christ College program, our honors program, note that because there are different requirements that each program has, and we do want to keep that in mind when we are planning your schedule to try to avoid any practice times or conflicts as best as we possibly can. If there is a conflict, we will let you know and we will work with you to see what we can do. If you have any incoming or pending units, noting any AP scores, any dual credit classes, any college credit classes, anything that you have, letting us know about that so that we cannot plan you for that class for that first semester or plan it in your grad plan. We'll just say, oh, that's coming through, which is fantastic. Let me not enroll you in a writing class since you've already taken a writing class or something like that. So note that on there so that your advisor is fully aware and we're not duplicating that class for you. And then schedule preferences. So preferences aren't always guaranteed to be honored. However, we do want to keep them in mind when we are planning your schedule. So if you already have a work schedule that's pretty consistent, you want to let us know about that so we can try to avoid those times. That's helpful. Or if you are not a morning person or not a night person, letting us know that we can try to avoid the classes if possible. Again, if there are any issues or conflicts, we do try to let you know about that when we do email you, and I'll talk about the email in a few slides. All right, we have two different placement exams. So there's a chemistry placement exam and a calculus placement exam. Not every student is required to take this. However, if you declare biology, biochemistry, or chemistry as your major, we will let you know that you have to take a chemistry placement exam. Now, this exam is just evaluating whether or not you have a passing score in order to enter straight into Chemistry 1 or Chem 221. Or if you don't receive that passing score, we're going to put you in Chem 101 so that you can be better prepared to succeed in that Chemistry 1 class. So make sure you will receive an email in your Eagles email if you are required to take that placement exam, and your advisor will be unable to enroll you until that placement exam has been completed. So if you see that email, please get on top of just completing that. The other exam that we have is our calculus placement exam. Now this exam is required for anybody that declares engineering or math as their major. And it's a little different than the chemistry ones. The chemistry one will determine which chemistry class you're going into. The calculus one is going to determine how well you are and prepared to succeed in calculus 1. Now, if you don't receive a passing score on that placement exam, you're basically going to just work with the math department and get better prepared to retake that placement exam in the future, so that we can plan for that Math 271 class. Now, every student will receive an individualized grad plan from their advisor. They'll receive this through a program called DegreeWorks. And so DegreeWorks gives you access to all of the different graduation requirements that are required for your major, minor, or any other requirements that you are a part of, as well as some general things that are required of all students. On this, you will also have that grad plan that is updated every semester by your academic advisors so that you kind of know where you're at throughout that time and how long it's going to take you to get to where you want to be, especially when it comes to graduation. Obviously, we want you to reach there, so working closely with your academic advisor to create a plan that works best for you. You're going to receive an email once your academic advisor has enrolled you to your Eagles email, letting you know, hey, you're enrolled. Here's some next steps on how to access that course schedule. Here's how to find DegreeWorks and utilize that system. And you can also go to my.cui.edu/dashboard if you just want to explore that a little bit, get to know Concordia, our culture, our website, and it will upload that course schedule as well onto there so you have access to that on your dashboard. Some frequently asked questions. So these are just a few questions that advisors tend to get throughout the summer from students, from parents. And so I just wanted to touch base on a few that are common for us. So a lot of times we get, what if I want to change my class times? Now, typically over the summer, classes are getting filled pretty quickly as advisors are working as quickly as we can to enroll students. So we're not always able to make changes immediately, especially if classes are full. However, we do want to know that you may have an issue, so please reach out to us. Let us know what that issue may be. We can set up a meeting and we can try to see if we can come to a solution. Another common question is, what does this class count towards? And so this is where DegreeWorks is super important because it does lay out all of those different requirements that you will need in order to graduate by the time you're hoping to graduate by. So everything that is kind of gone over classes that we enroll you in will be noted what requirement it is fulfilling on DegreeWorks. You'll also get more in-depth training on how to access and utilize this program at both WOW and if you're enrolled in INT 100. And then how will I know if I'm on track? And so again, DegreeWorks has that awesome grad plan option that does note whether or not a student is on track, if they're off track. And so you can kind of track it through there. And if you're ever off track, you can always reach out to your academic advisor and we're happy to work with you to find some solutions to see how we can get you back on track if that's possible. Or maybe we need to extend your time just to make it a little bit easier for you so that you're able to succeed. So we just want to have those conversations with you and make sure that you're succeeding at the end of the day. And then lastly, can I meet with an advisor before I'm enrolled? Absolutely, we love meeting with our students. You just need to let us know that you want an appointment with us. We can set up both in-person and or virtual appointments. So just email your academic advisor and we are so happy to meet with you. We love meeting our students. All right, so any Q&A?
All right, thanks guys. Oh, and this, Bree, do you want to go over the advisors at all? before we do
Um,
Q&As?
Yeah, sure, I can. So our advisors here are major-based, meaning we're all experts in the majors that we oversee. And so hopefully that helps answer some questions that may come out during your time here. We do have a total of 6 advisors. So Laura Kuvasir, who is our associate dean, she works with undecided or undeclared majors, our theology and theological studies majors. I work with any double majors or dual degrees, behavioral sciences, psych, art, and graphic design. Joey Annunziato is going to be working with all of our STEM majors, so biology, biochemistry, chemistry, computer science, engineering, and math. Sarah Hess works with music, healthcare management, kinesiology, and theater majors. Steve Dierker works with business administration and economics. And then Maya Gomez gets the rest. So she gets communication, English, history, political thought, liberal arts, liberal studies, any secondary education majors, as well as sports business.
Great. All right. Thanks, guys, for that wonderful presentation. So everyone in our audience tonight, now the time is yours. We're going to turn it over to you to ask some questions in the chat box. So you should be able to, or in the Q&A box, you should be able to type in some questions. Once we see them come through, I will go ahead and read them out loud and field them to either Dr. Tom or Bree. So please, I really encourage you guys, you have our undivided attention. Of course, here at Concordia, what makes us unique is you always have our undivided attention, but especially since you have us all on the call tonight, definitely use this time wisely. And whether it's about advising, admissions, whatever it could be, we're here to help. Okay, so we have our first question from Christian Lawrence. What is the process if you are a transfer student? That's a great question.
That is a great question. So again, you're still going to want to complete that class registration survey. We won't enroll you until we have completed that. The second thing that's super important for transfer specifically is we need all of your college transcripts sent over to us, and your official ones, not unofficial. So we need your official transcripts because we need to see what you've taken so we can evaluate those units, do any substitutions or anything like that. And then we can work on creating that individualized grad plan for you and enrolling you for your first semester. Your requirements may look a little different. Instead of core math and core philosophy or core bio and core theology, you're going to be in core philosophy and core theology, so our transfer core pair most likely. And so that just looks slightly different, but the process is still pretty similar. We just need a little bit more with those transcripts.
Great. And then let's see, we have Drake Farley. Hey Drake, I recognize your name. How do you deal with AP scores that come in July?
That's a great question. So yeah, we do know AP scores do come in late. And so if you do happen to know those AP scores, if you could note that on the class registration survey, that's definitely helpful. If you don't have your score yet though, which is common, that's also okay. We do keep that in our minds. And so we determine what it could potentially come back as and just try to not plan you for any of those classes just in case.
All right, and then our next question is, when can freshmen register for classes?
Yeah, so technically, if you're talking about the first semester, no student will enroll themselves for their first semester. Both freshmen and transfers will be enrolled by their academic advisor for the very first semester only. However, you will be able to enroll yourself moving forward, and you'll meet with your academic advisor to plan that moving forward. We do begin enrollment for new students on June 1st.
Great. Megan Hallgrain has a question, and I love seeing at this time of year, I recognize all of your guys' names. So glad you guys are on here joining us tonight. Will it put a student behind to begin school as undecided?
No, not necessarily. So you work closely with Laura. She's always trying to do work with career and making sure you're exploring a little bit about what some of those interests are and getting in some classes that may be interesting to you and maybe leaning towards a certain major. So depending on what that major is, ultimately, we do our best to still get you out on your timeline. But again, that's going to depend on the major you ultimately choose and when you decide to choose that.
Great. And the next question is, where do we get the class registration survey? Will it be emailed out?
Evan, do you want to take this one?
Yeah. So I believe the class registration, you can access it in many ways. So it's online, it's ready to go. I can even put it in the chat. Would that be okay, Brie, if I put it in the chat for them to do it right now? So I'll go ahead and just put this link in the chat box so you guys can see. But we are also sending you guys emails with this link just for all of our deposited students. Keep that in mind. If you're accepted and you haven't yet committed, you will not have access to the class registration survey. But all of our committed students, we're kind of on a weekly basis, just sending you these emails. But if you don't have it in your email, if you haven't received it yet, there is the link to the class registration survey, and it's a very simple form to fill out. You'll see just it's exactly how Bree described it. And then Bree, if they're filling them out, even though class registration doesn't open until June 1st, you essentially just collect them and then review everything on June 1st, right?
Yes, yeah. Right now, we're just preparing for registration, making sure we have all our ducks in a row in order to get you registered as quickly as possible. So yeah, we are looking at those right now. We just haven't started the enrollment process.
Perfect. Yeah. And for anyone out there, especially if you're going to be living on campus, if you are deposited, basically you'll want to do the housing application as soon as possible. And then the class registration survey. It's kind of just another way to check something off of your box so that you're that much closer to being ready for August. So great questions, guys. Next question is, how do I contact the DSPS office for special needs?
Yes, so here we call it the DAS Center. So DAS, you can always just email das@cuy.edu, and Stephanie Staley, our director, will reach out when she gets that email.
Great. And I'm also putting that in the chat as well so that everyone has access to that email. And I'll also put Stephanie's name just so if you do want to email her, you know who to address it to. Our next question is, I'm here for my son since he is in Europe. How exciting. He's going to join the athletic program. Are there any differences between athletes students and non-athlete students?
Yes, they do have a lot more time that they're obviously devoted to with practice and games and things like that. And so your academic advisor is really working to acknowledge that and make sure we're making enough time for them to eat food, make it to practice, go to class, making sure they're fulfilling everything. So there are some differences, but you have a lot of support from your coaches, typically from the athletic staff and from academic support as well.
All right, next question. Okay, that was the questions for at least for the time being. We are going to give you, hopefully we're booked until 6 tonight. So for anyone still thinking or wanting to throw a question out there, we're going to give you guys some time. But I'm just going to kind of step in and give some call to actions for everyone who is here on the call tonight. If you are an accepted student out there and you've not deposited yet, please keep in mind these two things. So we have extended the deposit deadline, the commitment deadline, to June 1st. Typically it's May 1st nationwide, but with all of the delays from the federal for the Department of Education and the FSA, we're allowing more time for you guys to receive your FAFSA and for us to receive the information from the Department of Education and make an informed decision. So if you haven't got your FAFSA, or if you have got your FAFSA and you're still deciding, please know that we're giving you until June 1st. For everyone on the call tonight who has deposited, congratulations, welcome to Concordia. If you are going to be living on campus next year, or even if you're not and you're going to appeal to live at home, please fill out the housing application form as soon as possible. The way it works is sort of like a first come, first serve basis. So the sooner you get that in, basically the more priority you have with housing. So we really recommend doing that. All right, another question. What about financial aid? Okay, that is a great question, Christian. Can you note to specify perhaps what exactly your question is about financial aid? I'll wait for that to come through just so we can give you the best answer. And as promised, I am including Stephanie Staley's name in here as well as the email again. So you have that in the chat, Stephanie Staley. All right, yeah, and Christian, if you just want to let me know if you have questions on your financial aid package or how it works or how it's dispersed, then we can kind of narrow that down. Okay, thanks, Christian. So you, Christian said, I sent my FAFSA in March, but I haven't heard anything. That's very common, unfortunately, for this year. The Department of Education, probably, as you know, decided to completely revamp the FAFSA to make it easier. Unfortunately, they made it a little bit more difficult for our students and for universities across the USA. So, Christian, if you sent your FAFSA back in March and you added Concordia, you're in good company, because a lot of people, we are still waiting for the Department of Education to send us that info. Then we verify it to ensure its accuracy, and then package you up and give you an award. And we will notify you as soon as we receive your award. We get a new batch of students who have been awarded every single morning. So Christian, I am going to email, or just write in the chat my direct email address. And I would like you to please send me an email just with your first and last name and your email, so that I can keep a lookout for your financial aid award and sort of put you at the front of the line, so to speak. But yeah, that's the reason why we've extended the deposit deadline, because we've got a lot of students waiting for their financial aid packages. And again, this is every university and nationwide is experiencing that. So we're so sorry for the delay. It's not our fault, but we will make sure that we serve you well and we notify you ASAP. Marina asks, will this recording be available to watch at a later time? Yes, it is being recorded right now. And if you would like this recording sent to you via email, send me an email, evan.jones@cui.edu, and I'll actually email you the recording tonight, so you don't have to wait. All right, great question from Sonia. Who would be the contact for information on the Yellow Ribbon program? So that would be Richard Lewis. Richard Lewis, am I correct on that, Bree? Yeah, okay. Richard Lewis would be your direct contact. Let me also go ahead and put his name and email in the chat so you have that. Richard Lewis is great to work with. He is so caring about our students. He's very responsive, very quick to answer emails. So any questions at all, please email Richard Lewis. Basically, it's just his first name dot last name at cui.edu, and I'm gonna copy and paste it right here in the chat, so you should be able to see it right there. Also, the chat after our webinar does close down. It doesn't save this information, so if you want to keep a record of any of these emails, take a snapshot or go ahead and jot them down. And then, of course, any questions, you guys can always email me directly. Okay, Jackson Miller asks, we missed the webinar on housing from last month. Was that recorded, and how can we access that recording? So I think you're talking about our student life webinar, Jackson. We didn't have one specifically on housing, but we did have one that touched on all of the different components that basically about what it's like to be a student here on campus. So Jackson, if you go ahead and shoot me an email, I can access that recording and send it to you directly. That was actually a very helpful webinar too for anyone who missed it. We had our Dean of Students, our Associate Dean of Students, and a few other people on that call. And we touched on everything from life on the dorms to social life to mental health and wellness. So anyone who wants to hear about that straight from the source, our deans, please definitely email me. All right, we'll go ahead and wait for some more questions to come through. Bree or Dr. Tom, as we're kind of waiting for some more questions, can you think of anything else that might be helpful for incoming students to know as they're preparing for college and even wrapping up senior year? And perhaps if you guys work with so many students, you know this like the back of your hand. If you had a pro tip or some advice for people out there who are wrapping up senior year and getting ready to start a completely new journey, what would that tip be, or a collection of tips?
All right. Well, I would say one of the things that sometimes stop students from succeeding is they're afraid of their professors. They're afraid of reaching out to them, and you should never be. All the professors at Concordia have office hours specifically that students will come and talk about what's going on, whether sometimes it's a personal problem, academic problem, but communication is really, really key to success in college. With your advisors, you've already heard that from Bree, but also with your professors. So if you have, even now, if you're thinking about a couple of different majors or you've chosen a major, go onto our website and see who the professors are and shoot them an email. I will get emails saying, well, what should I be, can I read anything ahead of time? Is there some way I can prepare for this? So reach out now. Don't be hesitant about that at all, because we really are there for you, right? That's our vocation, is to serve students. But sometimes you need to come to us so that we know how we can best serve you. So I think that's probably my best pro tip, is communication is key to success. And again, we really do think of Concordia as a community. It's not just a place where you take classes. We want you to feel a part of something, and that's all of us, the staff, the faculty, the people in the cafeteria. They're just a really wonderful, warm group of people. And so any ways that you can make a step towards being part of that community, I think will be really beneficial to you. And we can't wait to get to know you.
That's a great suggestion, Terry. I'm sorry, Dr. Tom. I inversed the two letters. Just to kind of piggyback on that, I'm an alum of Concordia. I went here many years ago, and then I went on more recently to do a really rigorous, academically rigorous grad program. So I've had a lot of professor interaction in my day, I guess. And when I think of professors and when I hear professor mentorship or teaching, whatever that might be, I don't think of my grad professors, even because it was more recent. So you think I would. I think back to my professors here at Concordia. And I've told a few students this as I've talked to them this week, but of all of the accomplishments I do, or all of the things that I go on to complete in life, I am forever indebted to my Concordia professors, because they taught me what I know. But more importantly, they got me through a lot of tough seasons. They taught me how to grow into adulthood, how to become a young professional. And yeah, I'm really excited for you guys to come and build that community with our professors as well.
I guess some advice from me is, I was going to say communication is key, but Dr. Tom already took that one, and which is fantastic. And I love that Evan touched on the professor communication and building that relationship with them. I was really, really shy. I'm also an alum of Concordia, very, very shy. And so I did have some trouble speaking with my professors, eventually warmed up. They're fantastic, and they really, really supported me during my time. And I was also able to find friends and get involved on campus a little bit and just go to some different things, which helped me feel more comfortable with talking with staff, with talking with faculty, and with just finding that support and utilizing different resources on campus that I think really helped me get through the time here at Concordia and make sure I succeeded. So getting involved actually really, really helped me as a really shy person. So went with some friends, obviously, but it was really, really fun. And I got to be involved in student leadership after that, and it just changed my entire direction.
All right, thanks, guys. We have another question. Mike asks, are there any placement tests for undecided students?
No placement tests for undecided students.
Along those lines, can you guys speak to the question, kind of expanding on that? Like, if you do come in undecided, how much time do you have to find a major, commit to a major? Or if you come in as one major, how easy is it? And what's the timeline for switching to another major?
Yeah.
We get that question a lot in admissions.
We get that a lot too, so that's actually a really good one. Thanks, Evan. I'll start with the undeclared, undecided students. So when you come in, we can usually get you through a full academic year with just our general education requirements. We can usually do maybe one extra semester, but by your sophomore year, we really want you declaring something so that we can get you in some classes that are going towards something. Otherwise, we run out of classes to put you in. And so if you can declare by sophomore year, that's most ideal. Sooner is obviously great, but sophomore year is our latest, I would say. And then when it comes to changing your major, students are changing their majors all the time. It's very, very common. And so depending on that major that you decide to switch to will determine how easy it is to still get out on your desired grad timeline. Again, the more information we have, the sooner we know it, the best we can do to support you and find a plan in order to accommodate what your goals are.
Great. And Marina has another question. Are there placement tests for business majors?
Good question. No. So the only placement tests are those two, and it is only required mainly for our STEM majors.
I do have a question I'm going to ask on behalf of a lot of question that we get a lot in admissions. So, what are the benefits and how does it help a student? The fact that the way that we do our course pairings of like, what is beauty, what is eloquence, things like that. And, you know, the fact that we kind of, really play a big role in creating their schedule for them. How is that? That's different from some universities, but we're intentionally different. So can you speak to the logic behind that difference and reasoning, I guess?
Yes. Yes. So the majority of colleges require general education, but often they don't put a lot of thought into it. They just give you a long list of courses and take them. I did that as my undergraduate. I was just like, take three humanities, three social sciences, three sciences, and really no guidance. Just take them. And you find things just don't connect with each other. It's just very difficult to figure out why am I here, right? And at Concordia, we didn't want that to happen. We really wanted to have a shared experience. So that's one thing, and I mentioned that before, so that you know, that not only are there the same 20, 25 students going into these two classes with you, but every freshman is taking these courses, right? So we want the conversations to continue into the lounges, into the cafeteria, right? That what are you talking about? How did you handle this subject? What are you thinking about this reading? And so it really joins us together intellectually. And then it also, when you go into your major, your professors know what you've studied. They know that you've read a certain Shakespeare play. They know that you've studied Fibonacci sequences. I don't know if anybody knows what that means, but it's you'll know once you're done here in mathematics. They'll know that you've read Plato. And so they can build upon that because they know all of my students have this shared experience. And then those topics actually come up again, which is really interesting in classes very far flung, but they all have this common intellectual element.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I love the fact how you described it as almost like the commonality among all of our students, especially at college. There's a lot of people coming in from different states, cities, backgrounds, walks of life, majors, and you know, though we are a small, tight-knit community, it can sometimes be hard, at least for, you know, those first few weeks of building community to, I don't know. Like Bree said, I was also very shy when I started Concordia. So it's a great way to make friends and a conversation starter. Like, hey, what did you think of that reading? I'm working on this paper. Are you working on it too? Let's create a study group. And so it's another way that Concordia is really just intentional about bringing everyone together and not having everyone just go off into their segmented little groups. That's not what Concordia is about. So we have another question. How is the coordination of majors and minors handled? Is it possible to have two majors? It's a great question.
That is a great question. Yes, it's possible to have two majors. So I work with our double majors and our dual degrees. In order to note that, you're going to put that on the class registration survey. You're only going to be able to select one major at a time, but if you already know that second major, there's a note section for you to note that. Same with minors. You can only select one at a time, but if you have other minors you're interested in and you want to immediately declare, you can put that in the note section, and then we will work on building out that grad plan to include all the things that you're interested in. Just know with double majors, depending on the majors that you choose, will determine the timeline could look a little different for you.
Thanks, Bree. All right, we have about 15 more minutes left in tonight's episode and in our webinar. While we're kind of waiting for some more questions to come through, I do want to make note of our next webinar. It's our second to the last webinar, and I would say, guys, if you are free, do not miss this one. It's the title is Open Forum with Concordia Leadership, and that's exactly what the episode will consist of. We're going to have our president on there, our provost, some of our deans, and it is an open forum. So for most of these series episodes so far, we've had a presentation and then Q&A. We're just going to open it up straight with some introductions and then turn it over to you guys to ask questions about anything and everything here at Concordia. We will be sending invites out to everybody to register. But if to mark your calendars, it's June 17th at 5:00 p.m. Pacific time. One thing that you will know very quickly about Concordia, if you haven't already, is we probably have one of the best university presidents I think I've ever encountered, and I've worked at a few other institutions. He's very involved, very conversational, very approachable. A lot of presidents at universities are just kind of up in their office, tucked away, and you never see him. But President Michael Thomas, he is in the community eating lunch and dinner with students in the dining hall, answering questions. So if you have anything on your mind, anything that admissions hasn't covered, advising hasn't covered, professors, or if we have and you just want to come say hi, please come to that episode on June 17th. And I am actually going to put the link to register here in the chat box so that you guys, if you haven't registered already, you can sign up for the June 17th episode. All right, so there's the link to register. Yeah, please join us if you can. All right, we'll wait for some more questions to come through. We can end the night early, but again, there are quite a few people on here tonight and I want to give everyone the opportunity to ask questions if you haven't already, so please don't be shy. If you guys have any questions at all, please also feel free to just call me directly. That is my direct line. I'm here to, a lot of our deposited and accepted students have worked with a specific counselor for their entire journey. As director, I get the privilege of working with everyone. So even if you've had one point of contact the entire 9 months or 5 months, however long your journey has taken, please feel free to reach out to me as well. I again had the privilege of reviewing all of your guys' applications, so hopefully I know I've recognized a lot of names on here, so hopefully I can get some phone calls and see some more familiar names come through. All right, Dr. Tom and Bree, as we kind of just wait for maybe any last questions to roll in, do you have any last minute pieces of information, tidbits, tips to include to our audience tonight? All right. Yeah, we went over a lot of stuff. Thank you,
Yeah.
Dr. Tom and Bree, so much.
Just, I guess another word for people who are undecided or undeclared, that's great, right? My son is going to start college a year from now. He's not quite ready, and he doesn't know what he wants to do. And he said, I want to go and take classes and find out what's interesting to me and what I want to learn about. And I think that's just really a great attitude. One of the things we really want to foster is curiosity. That's part of what we do in our core classes. This enduring questions idea is curiosity. So there'll be plenty of classes for you to take within the core and within GE for you to meet disciplines, meet professors, be like, oh, I really do like these people. I want to work with these people. Sometimes that's what happens too. So just don't be concerned that you're, if you're undecided right now, that's fine. And we're excited to talk to you. And I do have a great major for anyone who never decides, and that's liberal arts, where you get to do a little bit of everything. So we've got you covered too. Even if you have so many interests you can't decide on one, we've got a major for you too, and that's liberal arts. So
that's an excellent point, Dr. Tom, and I think it's a great way to wrap up the night. I having worked in education, I've worked with grad admissions and grad students for majority of my career for about 10 years. And now undergrad, obviously, but it's very, I would say kind of unique, maybe even rare, to come in and enter into college as a freshman and know exactly what you want to do and what you will be doing 15, 20 years from now. It does happen. And a lot of the times you kind of get it right in the field and the direction that you want to go in, but education and passions, it's a metamorphosis. And so a lot of the times you identify broadly a field that you really enjoy. And then over time, as you interact with your professors and your peers and you get to know the subject more, it kind of just, it forms and builds into this thing that eventually becomes your vocation, your calling, your career. So like Dr. Tom said, if you don't know right now what it is you want to do, that's very normal. And it's actually very normal for that to even kind of keep developing after college. Working with graduate students, people come back and they get their master's degree or their doctoral degree when they've really nailed down and fine-tuned, this is what I want to do. And guess what, guys? A lot of the graduate students, they're not 21, 22 years old. They're not straight out of college. Again, sometimes that happens, but it's more like 28, 35, 40, because they're like, I've spent my time cultivating and honing my interests, and I'm ready to kind of like take it to the next level. So we welcome you to come explore and dive into that curiosity and develop yourself further here at Concordia. Okay, we have actually one more. Thank you so much for not being shy and asking the last question. Thank you for the information tonight. You're very welcome. I missed the beginning of the webinar, so I may have missed this answer. Did you say that freshman students do not pick their first semester classes? And if not, what does that first semester course look like for freshman students? And do students start attending their major courses in their sophomore year?
Fantastic question. So they do not plan their first semester. Your academic advisor will enroll you for your first semester. Some classes that we do enroll you in, so there's a core pair that you will be required to take that first semester. If you're a freshman, it will be either core bio and core theology 101 or core philosophy and core math. And so one of those pairs, you'll also have a 1-unit INT 100 class, freshman introduction foundations course that you'll complete. And then depending on what your major is, you'll be in either some GEs, whether that's what is eloquence, taking a communications class, a writing class, some other general education classes. Or we could be enrolling you in some foundational courses to get you started on that major and make sure you're set. So depending on that major that you choose, we could have you starting in major classes as early as your first semester, or you could be starting them second semester or sophomore year. It just kind of depends on what is planned with your advisor and what that major is.
All right. Okay, everyone. Well, we are going to wrap up. I do maybe 30 seconds for anyone else who wants to add a question here in the chat. But just as a quick recap from me, from the admissions side, if you're not deposited and committed to Concordia yet, you have until June 1st. We are actively working on your financial aid packages for anyone who is still waiting trust me, that is what we're doing day and night. So know that we're working hard for you. If you haven't received a package, it's not because we haven't forgotten about you. It's just the Department of Education is a little bit slower this year. And for, yeah, anyone who is deposited, please move forward with your housing application. It's priority kind of first come, first serve. So we want to make sure you get that tied down and settled. Class registration is next. It's in the link. If you have any questions, email me, call me. My email is evan.jones@cui.edu. If it's about something you heard tonight and I can't answer your question, I will definitely connect you. All right. Well, I just want to close the night in prayer. If you do pray, then I ask you to join me. Lord Jesus, thank you so much tonight for this hour and for just allowing everyone to have schedules that allowed them to come here tonight and hear more about Concordia, and for our committed students, their future place of learning and growing and developing. Lord, Concordia is such a good place. It is a blessed place, and it's a place where you are gathering people to further the plans that you have for them, Lord, and the plans that you have for them are good. And it is so amazing to know that those plans are unfolding here on our campus, in a beautiful campus where they can come and just have an opportunity that a lot of people don't have. So I ask that you just bless everyone on the call tonight, Lord. If they are accepted here and they're still deciding or they're still completing their application, Lord, give them wisdom, and Holy Spirit guide them to where they need to be, where it is your will for them to be. And for our deposited students, I just ask in Jesus' name, there would be no nerves, Lord. It would just be excitement about the future and peace about the future. As they are wrapping up their senior year, a very intense time, Lord. Use these next few weeks and months all the way up to August to give them peace and just a newfound energy to take on this next season of life for them. Keep them safe and healthy, keep their families safe and healthy, and guide them every step of the way as we know you will. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. All right, everyone, thank you for being here tonight. This recording will be available. If you'd like it, let me know and I'll email it to you. Have a great night, everyone.